Hi guys, I wanted to create a tutorial to help walk you through the final prep and outline preparation. If you were in class on Tuesday and you were confused with directions, this will be an extended opportunity to help you better prepare. And if you were absent on Tuesday prior to Thanksgiving, this will give you the information you need to start preparing for your final prior to coming back to school on November 30th. The final itself will take place on December 3rd, which is a Thursday, from 7:40 to 9:10. This is a 90-minute final, and the final exam that I've created is intended to be filled in that allotted time. If you need extended time, I will determine that based on an individualized basis, but you really need to come in prepared and ready to fulfill your test requirements within the 90 minutes given. The more you prepare, the better you'll do on the final. So, in order to walk you through the process, you'll notice that there are three documents in Classroom. I'm going to go through them in the order of the final review, the Viking documents, and then the essay outline. If you have any extra questions that you need answered, please don't hesitate to ask me by email. So the first thing we'll walk through is the final review paper. So your final review paper that you notice on the screen is it first tells you what the final consists of. It consists of four parts: writing in a time setting, a multiple choice section, a cause and effect pair section, and a test outline and partial essay writing. The writing in a time setting will be a 15-minute block of time where you will have to analyze a number of spec sets that will come from your Roman Empire cultural notes that you took from the projects your classmates gave in class. Remember, in this time setting, a spec set will include a thesis, an A, specs and analysis, however many I ask you to do, and then a closing sentence. So the more you practice for this, the better you will come in ready to go. I'm not going to be overly crazy about the number of spec sets, but we do this so that you understand what it means to write under time constraints, which better prepare you for situations that require you to do that. The second part of your final is a multiple choice section, and on the left-hand side of the table below, the terms, events, and people that you see are the ones that will be tested on the multiple choice. So what I would recommend doing is creating flashcards, either in a digital setting such as with Quizlet or an app, or on paper to better study and prepare for this section. On the right-hand side are your cause and effect topics. And remember, you need to link up your cause and effect pairs based on the information below. If you go back into your notebooks or binders for this trimester, we've covered all of these topic areas. For a cause and effect pair, you need to define both sides of the arrow and then explain how the first item leads to the second. So once again, using flashcards to prepare will help you do better on this section of the test. So those are the first three sections. The remainder of this tutorial is going to focus on the last section, which is a test essay and partial outline. So I want to draw your attention. You're going to open up the PDF, which is called the Viking Documents. And the first page of this is actually the directions that are also on your final review sheet as well. And this is the directions for how to complete your test essay outline and also prepare yourself prior to the test. So up top, the first direction tells you what you can do prior to the final. You will actually be given a final essay outline, which I will talk about a little bit later in this tutorial. Your job prior to coming to the test will be to complete the thesis statement, all your six supporting detail statements, and finding six specs with citation, all from source materials that I will provide you in order to come into the final with that partial part done. Then the day of the final, you will complete the analysis statement, write an introduction paragraph, and write one proof paragraph of your choice to show how to transition from an outline to a formal writing piece. This is very similar to what we did with Pericles, but the difference is it's in a tested environment. The thesis question you will answer is: did the Vikings deserve their reputation for being cruel and barbaric? Once again, just as with Pericles, you can take either side that you like, and I have created your proof statements that you will prove with your specs that you find in the documents. Down at the bottom is a breakdown of how it's graded in all three competencies. Once again, if you have questions, please let me know. As you scroll your way through the rest of this form, you will notice the documents that are going to be used for the Vikings readings. If you have capacity to get to a printer and you weren't here on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I would encourage that you print these off because your classmates actually receive paper copies of them. But if you can't, what I would do prior to coming back to school on the 30th is going into the document and saying, okay, in Doc 3, in paragraph 2, and then I would just put a note, this is the specs I want to use. And then when you come back on November 30th, I'll provide you with the paper copy so it might be a little easier to highlight as you go. So that's the documents. Like I mentioned, I would make sure if you can print them off. If not, try your best with what you have. I know they're scanned documents. They're not the prettiest, but I'm hoping it's enough to get you started. So the last part of this tutorial is going to talk about the outline itself. Of my time talking about the final essay outline, which is the third document that can be found in Classroom. So if you look, this thesis outline should look very familiar to what we actually did when we did Pericles. The question at the top is, did the Vikings deserve their reputation for being cruel and barbaric? Your task prior to the test is to develop a thesis first. So either you would say the Vikings did deserve their reputation or did not. And then depending on what side you take are the proof statements that you will use. This is really important. So if you say that they did not deserve their reputation, then you would delete the second sentence and you would keep the first. And you would do the same thing for A, B, and C. If you said that they did deserve their reputation, then you would delete the first sentence for A, B, and C and leave the second sentence. You're only going to prove one side or the other. Please don't leave both. Otherwise, this is going to get really confusing. Then just as we did with Pericles, your proof area A always matches up with your Roman numerals in your body paragraph. So if you notice, if I deleted the first sentence here, I would need to delete the first sentence on 2. If I deleted the second sentence on A, I would delete the second sentence on 2, and then I would do the same for 3 and 4 on your body paragraph. So keep that in consideration. And then what you're going to do is you will use the Viking documents that we talked about just a few minutes ago, and you will find specs that will prove either proof statement correct. So if I said that they did not deserve it, I would look for specs that would prove first that their technology was too advanced. I would do, for example, remember you need a direct quote that is embedded with, for example, for instance. I would put the entire quote. It should be detailed with no bias and not too vague. And I would put the document number as my citation. Please keep in mind all these steps are required for the outline as well as for your paragraph. You are allowed to find 2 specs prior to the test, and you also need to create what is your supporting detail statement. And remember, your supporting detail statement is a bridge from your proof sentence to introducing your specs. So you could say something in your A line like one of the Viking technology that was advanced was, and then introduce whatever you've categorized. What you need to leave blank is your analysis statement. You cannot complete your analysis statements on the outline until the day of the final. So keep that in mind. You will do A, B, specs for 2. You'll do the same for 3, and you'll do the same for 4. The other part you can do prior to the final is actually developing your closing. Your closing from the outline is made up of 3 sentences. Remember, it's a restatement of the main idea of the thesis, remind your readers of the 3 proof areas, which are your A, B, and C in introduction, and a final thought about the Vikings based on the thesis side you chose. Do not introduce a new argument, simply close up everything you're talking about. These can be written as separate sentences. Don't try to make them all one paragraph because it's only an outline. And then the day that you come into the test, you will then open this outline up. You will finish your analysis statements, and you will then have an opportunity. You're going to write an introduction paragraph, and you are going to choose one of your body paragraphs to turn into a nice proof paragraph, including an introduction sentence, transitional words and phrases, and a closing. That part should not be as stressful as the preparation. So the more you do prior to the final, the less stressful this test essay will be. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I do expect that your outline is typed ahead of time in Classroom. If you need to write it and then retype it later, that's fine. But prior to the final, the only thing I will allow you to access is what is in Classroom. So if you have a written outline, I'm not going to let you use it. So please keep that in consideration. It's because I need to know when the analysis was done prior to when the A and specs were done. All right. I hope you do really well. As always, as I just said like 2 seconds ago, please don't hesitate to ask me. Watch this tutorial as many times as you need. And any further questions, please, please, please talk to me. Good luck on your final.